Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Islamic Finance. Today we are discussing second major prohibition in Islam, and that is the prohibition of Gharar. And just like when we talk about riba, this is one of those key prohibitions, and it is so relevant, we will see later on, that we really need to a little bit study different phases of Gharar as well. So before we go into this particular one, anyone know what Gharar is like? How do we translate that word?
Would we say that Gharar means deceit, to deceive someone?
So usually we have that, isn't it? We have that element of the deception, and we will see what other derivatives of this are, how it comes through, whether it's uncertainty or similar. Now, why and how is this prohibited? As we know from Prophet ﷺ, who told us that Abu Hurairah stated that the Prophet, peace be upon him, forbade selling by way of tossing stones to settle a sale and sale of Gharar. Okay, so what is this? Let's analyze what this means. So first, what does the word mean? We say this word is differently translated, and we will look at some of the scholarly definition. But normally it refers to some sort of uncertainty, hazard, chance, risk, delusion, deception, danger, peril. It has all of these connotations. Okay, it is making someone believe something that is false or vain, something that is not true, and it is putting somebody in dangerous position due to these deceptions. Now, on the outside, it looks very attractive. Okay, however, reality is much different. Reality of it is much different. So, for instance, we say traditionally this is translated, like most of the time you'll see either uncertainty plus those other words we mentioned, or excessive uncertainty. And it is quite sophisticated concept. We see it in the many of the contracts that we are going to analyze. So some of the scholarly definitions that we see, different scholars give a different flavor and the angle. So some say that consequences of it are hidden, or some might say nature and the consequences are hidden, where the possibility of the one that you don't want, one that is less desirable, is more likely to happen. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said that, for instance, Gharar is where those consequences are unknown as opposed to the hidden, while Ibn Qayyim said that Gharar is that which is underivatable, whether it exists or not. So there are different kind of angles of looking at it. We will put it in one sort of framework when we look at examples, because sometimes examples give us a good flavor, good taste for what it is. So other scholars say Gharar is where the seller does not know what has been sold, and the buyer does not know what he was bought. Gharar is a sale in any contract which incorporates risk which affects one or more of the parties and may result in a loss. It's similar to gambling. And finally, combining both of these angles is that you could say both aspects are not known, and the outcome is also unknown. So these are all flavors. Now let's look what this really means in real life. Okay, so this will help us understand. For instance, you are making a contract. Okay. We know Prophet ﷺ told us, don't go and intercept traders outside of the city and conduct the sale there. Remember that? So yes. It is not allowed, if I'm in the city, if this is a city and this is a market, okay, so you go here and somebody bringing the goods and you start trading here. It's not allowed. Why?
Because what can happen is if you trade outside, you can buy out all the stock and raise up the price in the market.
So you go to this farmer and you say, you know what? It is really $10 in the market. Why you bother going down? I will take it, I'll give you $10, and I will go and sell it in the market. Maybe I'll give you 9, so it saves you from going, you know, and I make a little bit of profit. Where in reality, maybe in the market is 15, 20. The fact this guy here has no clue what's happening in the market. He is ignorant of the reality. Okay? And this one is going and trying to take advantage of him not knowing what is reality. So this is trying to profit from ignorance, and there isn't real transparency. So whether it's a contract or a sale where there is element of ignorance or lack of transparency, what we see here happening is deception. And uncertainty, because I don't know, am I getting the good deal or not? Even if I'm getting the good deal, I'm thinking, what are you doing here? You know, let me go into the market. Okay, so if this is happening, this is something that is not prohibited, that is not right. Deception in general. Once the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, passing by the shop, and the shop owner was selling some grains. And he ﷺ put his hand into the grains, and he felt some wetness down. You know, if you sell a grains, if you have a basket of grains, you know, and you put your hand and you feel this is a wet, what that's going to do with this basket of grains?
Make it heavy.
Make it heavy. It's going to be more heavy. It's a moisture. Plus, this being wet, this will spoil more quickly. It will go off. This is already damaged. You put it in the water. So what did this guy do? He put dry on the surface. So where is deception? He's telling us all of it is like this on the top. So the Prophet ﷺ said, why didn't you put this wet on the top so we know? Okay? And he said, whoever deceives us is not one of us. So this is something, again, showing us deception. Selling what you do not have. Something that is not in your possession. We mentioned buying, for example, something, birds in the sky. This is your bird. $10, please. And I'll go catch it. You have to have it, catch it, and then you sell it. Now, only exception in this is type of a product like salam and istisna, and we will talk about it, which is when you have, for example, you go to the farmer and they are growing, for example, dates or anything, and you give them money now, and they will give you produce later. So this is to help the farmers, and this is something that was done, and it is very important, and this is exception to normal rule, that and there are some rules about this anyway. Whenever you have prices that are not specified, delivery, dates, outcome, quality, quantity, even complexity in the contracts. If you have a contract that is so complex, nobody can understand. Like we mentioned during the global financial crisis, you remember those when they put a whole debt for mortgages in one bundle, and we said this is called CDO, collateralized debt obligation. When they bundle this and give it a AAA rating, you know, there is maybe 50 people in the world who can understand these contracts. So even the sophisticated investor couldn't figure out what's going on underneath. Forget it was junk and toxic asset. They didn't understand, and there is a joke, if you go and watch Michael Moore documentary about capitalism. He interviewed some of these Wall Street guys. He said, explain me derivatives, explain me this, and then he shows just a chunk of mathematical formula behind it. So one of these guys, he said, look, let me tell you, you know, the way we do this is really for all of these blah, blah, blah purposes, plus tax. If the tax agent come and want to apply tax on this product, this is so complicated, he can't figure it out. What tax apply? And he says, if by any chance he figures out what this contract is doing, he's going to get a job with us immediately. We're going to employ him. If he can figure out what this contract is supposed to be doing, we're going to give him a job immediately, raise. So complexity in contract, hiding things, is something that we see. This is hallmark of clever bankers. But in reality, it's a deception. But they boost, this much, we're clever. See how complicated we make it. So of course we see. But you don't understand. You are all going to sink. And you're going to take us with you because you are spreading systemic risk like a cancer, cancer. Attack host body, attack itself. It's you, cancer, it's your cell that turning against you and spreading throughout your system and making you shut down. So same. So you are giving us a type of a financial cancer through this complexity and these all other speculative activities. Now, there could be different types of gharar in reality, uncertainty. And not everyone is haram. Okay, so for example, you can have minor one and major one. For example, minor one. If I buy banana from the market, do I have to peel it to look if it is good?
No.
So there is some element of uncertainty, but this is a tolerable one. So this is okay. Okay. So difference between riba and gharar is that sometimes some level of gharar is normal, minor one. However, no amount of riba is okay. Okay? This minor gharar is present. For instance, we go in a taxi. We know roughly how much is per kilometers, but we don't know how much at the end journey will be. Can we do? And we can, because this is not a type of a gharar that is a major one. Otherwise, you will not be able to rent the car or a taxi or, and any of these things. But we judge it based on a couple of points. And these three are, is this, and this, I remember SubhanAllah, Sheikh Jamal Zaraboz explaining his class of finance, and he says, number one, is it negligible? Is it present in all transactions? This. For instance, pack of lollies. For instance, I don't know which lollies you like.
Pedal pop.
Huh? What is what?
Pedal pop lollies.
What is this? Fredo pop. Okay, Fredo pop. We call pop or something. Okay. All right. So what is this? This is some sort of bag, and you have the lollies inside or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. That's what it is. Okay. Now, when you buy a bag, it says 100 grams. Yeah, 100 grams. Now, weigh each of these. You think it's going to be 100 grams in each? No. Some will be maybe 101. Some will be 99. Okay. So is this negligible? Meaning, is it present in all of these transactions?
Yes.
It is. There is no way to make it each 100. There is absolutely impossible. So we say this is a minor gharar. It's not something that... it's not like I'm trying, as you will see, to make a difference and somehow profit from these variations. Nobody's making that profit from the variation itself. So is it inevitable? Can we avoid this?
No.
Like you buy, which meat you like? Kebab, this kebab. You have kebab. And you say, give me one of these kebab. Can you avoid differences between two kebabs? Is everyone going to have same much salad, same much meat, same much?
It's impossible.
Can you change it? Can you make it each equal, same? It's inevitable that there will be some differences, variation. And the third, is this intentionally you're trying to do this? Is it unintentional? Or is this difference your main goal, how you're making money? It's not. I'm not trying to make money by making kebab different or bag of lollies different. I'm not making money. This is inevitable, it is negligible, and it's not intended to make any profit. So we ignore this. So when we talk about gharar, we're talking about these deception, risk, intentional stuff that we can do something and minimize and so on. So for example, Sheikh gave once this example. He says, how about this scenario? I'm not sure if you have it here. During Ramadan, you have these restaurants and they say, all you can eat, come in the restaurants, you eat whatever you want, you pay $15.
Buffet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay? You have this?
Yes.
So you fasted, you know, now you are ready to take on all you can eat, $15. Is this okay?
Yes, it's okay.
It is?
Okay.
Okay. So all of us will be the same?
Because basically everybody is different. in
Yes.
eating. But there's nothing wrong. I don't see anything
Right.
wrong with the offer that he made.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So do you have to make sure that you eat specific number of things?
It's inevitable.
Yeah?
I mean, sometimes your appetite is not, so it's difficult.
All right. Let's take a short break, inshallah, and then we will continue this example after that.
Anger and violence have spilled over onto the
escalated into violent clashes between police and protesters.
over the government's plan to avoid default.
And we're also hearing of injuries on both.
Journalist Charlie McGrath says the cuts will heap further suffering on ordinary people.
For decades, but the fence needs some
This is a serious and big storm.
Join me as I explore pressing issues facing the Muslim world today. From the one-sided civil war in Syria to the genocide in Burma, from the Arab Spring to the elections in the US, and yes, even the Euro debt crisis in Greece. Honest reporting on a channel you can trust, and I won't leave an issue untouched. Don't miss the Ummah Tonight with me, Malik, on your favorite channel, Huda TV.
Welcome back. We are talking today about Gharar or uncertainty in business transactions. Now, during the break, you were telling me an interesting story here that happened in the restaurant just before we continue with our example. So, do you mind sharing with us?
I was saying that this buffet, few of my friends a few years ago that were studying, and they went, and this was with the pizza. If you buy a certain amount of pizza at Panarotti's, and then after that they have where you can eat as much as you want to. So basically this was a gamble because these guys were real big eaters, you know. So they began eating, and after an hour the manager realized that these guys, the waiters are still serving them. So he came back, he gave them the money, and he said, please, the deal is closed for you.
Okay, so that's a good one. That's a good one. So you see, under normal circumstances, and that is correct, these arrangements, people can estimate how much that average give or take will eat. So that's why these transactions, usually you could consider it as a minor form of gharar. However, if person know that he will eat double, he should then pay for double. Okay? So in normal circumstances, what is normally, you're going to eat, you know, this, but if you know, for example, like one of these guys, they're going to eat more double, then they should pay double. All right. Now, let's look at a few other examples. Suppose you hire somebody to do some work for you, and this person is a diver, you know, Dave, and you say, I'm going to give you $100 for whatever you bring with you. Okay, so you go dive, do your thing, and whatever you bring with you, I'm going to give you $100 for this. Is this a okay contract?
No. This contract, this is major.
So where is the major gharar here?
Because of, you do not know, first of all, it's you doing a transaction which the other it's not known.
Yes, so what is being transacted then here? What is the subject matter here?
The subject matter is the subject matter is not known.
So subject matter is not known. What he is going to bring out on the surface, we don't know. Maybe it's worth 100, maybe less, maybe more, what if any. And we are paying him 100. Okay? How about if I say to him, I will pay your 1 hour of your work $100, and whatever you get, it's mine.
It has been stipulated now, so it is permissible.
So now what's the difference? What is the subject matter now?
Time.
It's his time. Okay? So it's a service. I'm hiring you, I'm hiring labor for 1 hour, and therefore the result that comes, it's my risk. I take the risk. So you see how important these things are. All right, how about this? I'm selling you the car that is lost. I lost the car. I lost the car. Somebody stole the car. I'm waiting to get it back, and I sell you the car. Can I do that?
No.
Yeah, so I don't have. All right.
That thing is not there.
We don't know. We are not certain we're going to get it back. So this is again uncertainty. All right. Now, what about gambling, game of chance? What is that? Is it permissible to play the games of chance?
No, it has been prohibited.
Yeah? Prohibited?
Yes.
You all agree on that? Yeah, so as we see, there are many reasons, and you can see how much even normal people who might not be Muslims, when they see damage gambling doing, I mean, look at the ads on the TV, destroy families, people losing so much. In fact, I was listening one podcast of the CEO of one of these big Las Vegas chains, who used to be professor of economics, and he is now CEO of this place. And you know what they discovered through his research? He discovered if you get people to lose little by little, over time they will lose more, and they will be happy to play more. So if you bleed, take his blood slowly, you will take more. What did they discover? If you take a lot quickly, they don't want to come, they're angry. So they discover this psychology. So they figured out, whenever somebody comes, let's say with 100% of money, we make sure he just loses between 5 and 10%. So he keeps coming, keeps going, They have even a loyalty card. They said, he was explaining, you know, all of these amazing devilish tactics, you know. He says, we have a loyalty card. In case we figure out he lose more than 10, 12, 15%, to make sure that he comes and not angry with us, we give him something back, money, free room, bottle of something, you know, wine. So he feels, okay, compensated. We don't want to lose the customer. Lose the customer. So gambling, even when they analyze this, it's a science how to extract more from people so they don't feel it. You know, it was a story of a frog. You know the story of the frog in the boiling water?
No.
I'm telling you all of these stories. This is like, what is this? So there was an experiment they done. They put the water in a kettle, okay, and they put a fire here, okay, put a fire, okay. So this was hot water, okay, this was cold, okay, and they put a frog here, okay, so let's say this is a frog, I don't know, okay, they put frog in this hot water. What happened with the frog? It jumped out straight away. Okay, and they did the same thing. They put the frog here, but it was cold, and they slowly heated up. You know what happened with the frog? It got cooked. It cooked, got cooked. Okay, it stayed there, you know, over time, and they didn't realize what's going on. You know, it's been cooked. I don't know. I didn't verify the authenticity of the story, but this is. Like makes sense. Your culture, your things, slowly taking your money. We have in Australia these gambling places. All people go with the hope I'm going to get it so I can give to my grandchildren. They live in the hope. I'm going to give them house, their mortgage. So they are under the stress. So she's wasting and he's wasting all of his pension in cents, slowly bleeding, and they call it experience, fun. Okay, at least I had a good time. And they all think. So we see, as this verse says, in them is a great sin and yet some benefit for people. Of course, some people, professionals, they find a way to make benefit for themselves. But overwhelming sin and harm is huge. Huge from these matters, which is the gambling and both wine as well. You know how some people say, a little bit of wine clear the system or something. Overwhelming harm of these things is amazing. So what is then gambling? What is gambling? Is there something of a skill involved in gambling? How do we know something is a gambling, not investment? Okay, like for example, I could put $100 and gamble. I don't know, this is a gamble, let's say. Okay? And I could put $100 to some business. Both could win and could lose, yes?
Yes.
What is the difference then? This is gamble. This is a big investment. What is the difference? Both can lose and gain.
Gamble is depending mainly on luck, and investing is you work for it.
So there is a pure coincidence, chance here involved. What is it here? It's some work. You need to do something real. Remember what we said, trade and riba. You need to do something real economically that benefits people. Here, for me to win, somebody has to lose. Yeah?
Yes.
If I'm gambling, unless somebody loses to take his money, I can't win. I cannot have win-win in gambling.
Yes.
For me to lose, somebody has to win. So it's always win-lose. So you are happy only if somebody else pays. So did you see? Is that like mutual cooperation, general?
No.
Does it bring anything? And plus, there is nothing real happens. Okay, here, for me to win in a business, what has to happen with my customer, supplier?
They have to win also.
They also have to win with me. They sell me their product. He sell me milk. Farmer, I sell milk to the customer. I'm happy, made a deal. Farmer is happy, I sold his milk. The guy who's drinking the milk is happy, he got the milk. The person who ordered the coffee and made the milk in the coffee, and everybody is happy. In fact, my profit is indication of what? How much benefit I'm providing in society.
Yes.
That is what the profit is. They say this is happiness of the what you generate, like this how they say. But in reality, more profit you having in reality means more benefit you are giving to the other people.
Yes.
More benefit you give, more you're gonna get. That's a simple. So it's a win-win. So that's why we see the different. Now, we say that gambling is extreme form of Gharar. Okay, it's extreme form of Gharar. All right, and it implies here it implies unknown jahl. Okay, here that's what Gharar. Unlike riba, you know what you're doing. You know that you are deceiving people. Okay, so it's a form of Gharar. Now, let me look at some of the examples of insurance. Okay, where does insurance fit in this? Let's analyze one case. Anybody can tell me something about insurance? Is it okay Islamically? Is insurance fine?
There's certain insurances that are okay and certain that are prohibited.
All right, so which ones are okay?
For example, if a person, if you want to insure your car, maybe.
All right, okay. All right, let's look at that. Okay. So how does the insurance, this is a conventional insurance. How does it work? I have a car, yes? Okay. This is a company insurance. Okay? All right, they have nice building. They are very rich insurance companies. So don't worry about them. Yeah. So now you say, I will give you what 100. What they as a payment. I pay premium. And what am I going to get back? Every month I'm giving you 100. What am I going to get back?
Protection.
Protection.
All right. So what am I doing in insurance? I'm transferring the risk. So I'm giving you this money, and with the money risk. Okay? So the conventional insurance is a transfer of risk. What am I going to get in return for this? If I have an accident, you're going to pay me, I don't know, maybe 50, maybe 200, maybe 1,000, whatever, maybe nothing. Yes?
Yes.
Now, what does this remind you, this contract? What is the problem with this contract?
Money
It's
over
money to money.
It's money for money, isn't it? It's money for another money. Now, here it's 100, and how much is here? Unknown.
Unknown.
So we could have two problems with insurance. Number one is riba, because this will be more or less. It varies. We don't know. It could be 0, 1,000, 5,000. So it's unequal. Also, because we don't know, that's what? What is that?
Gharar.
Gharar.
So both of these elements are in the normal conventional insurance contract. Third thing, what do these people do with this $100 insurance company?
Invest it.
Invest it, that's right. So they have something which is a pool. They call it like technical reserve, but let's say this is a fund. So they put you $100 here because you don't need it immediately. You know, there are millions of people who put in money. So they want to do something with the money. Not everybody making claims and having accident immediately, maybe later. So what do they do with these billions of dollars here? They invest. What do they invest this? Usually in interest-based products. Anyway, it's not Sharia compliant, or we don't know. So when we talk about insurance, you have every possible prohibition in that insurance. Okay? You have riba, you have gharar, and the money that is invested is not Sharia compliant. Okay. So Takaful is designed as a replacement of insurance. So what is the Takaful? Takaful is a contract not of risk transfer like here. Okay? But it is a contract of what? Risk sharing. Okay? It's a contract of risk sharing. So when I'm here paying $100 in Takaful, what am I doing? I'm putting in a pool of funds with other participants, like what used to be before, like similar to mutual insurance, which now it's more and more diminishing. So I'm putting this in this pool of money with other participants with different idea. We are putting this to share risk, not to transfer it for you to the money. And we are putting it as a contribution. Okay? So how does that work? Let's see. So we say that this form, this Takaful, was a system that was practiced during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and it is forming the basis of today's Takaful. So in the case of calamities, individuals would do different arrangement. So inshallah, after the break, we are going to look at this in more details.
I really like the example he gives in that clip about the guy stuck in traffic. You know, he thinks that it's just, it takes it personal, which you know, brings us to the point that a pessimist is very subjective when it comes to negative things that happens in his life.
But for example, if you are talking to me about doing something good in life and you are on the bed of death, that you want to do something for your ummah, this is why we did this program, to make you get your achievable goals before you reach the moment that you will not be able to achieve anything.
SubhanAllah, if I may add, if I have a positive attitude and if I have courage, why it doesn't appear in all the problems that I face? Why it doesn't appear in all what I do in my life? Actually, because you are not responsible enough to control your mindset.
I was reading a study on New York government. They wanted to improve the crime rate. They wanted to lower the crime rate ultimately. And they found that in the subways there was a lot of graffiti, a lot of trash. And just by doing a little thing, like removing the trash and removing the graffiti and making a more clean environment, the crime rate actually lowered. So this shows the power that how little things can really make a big difference.
Welcome back. We are talking about insurance and Islamic Takaful and comparing these two products. So we said that problem with conventional insurance is a transfer of risk and all of these other prohibitions. Now in Takaful we have different system, different intention behind it. We don't just want to push the risk on somebody, because you see, people usually think just because I'm pushing risk on someone, risk disappears. It's not true. Risk is still there. Just I'm pushing everything on one party. Now, what we want to do is we want to have more mutual cooperation here. We want to share the risk. And this is where Takaful comes. So the clear example of this can be found in collection by Imam Bukhari, when we had a situation where infant died in the womb as a result of altercation between two women. So the child died, and the woman was pregnant, obviously. Now the rule is that blood money should be paid by the paternal relatives, and this is the compensation for this incident that happened. So obviously there was a death, it was unintentional, and there has to be some compensation. Now what they did, because you know this is blood money is not small amount, it's maybe now, I don't know, maybe $500,000, $1 million. It's not a small amount. So what do? Usually a person would not have this, and this is anyway excellent. So they combined the tribe from the father's side, combined the wealth together, and they paid off this debt. So this was known as Akila. Okay, and this is the concept that we use for modern day Takaful. Okay, so how that comes today? We say Takaful. It comes from this word which means kafala, which means to guarantee, and it refers to this shared responsibility. Shared responsibility where participants pay like a fee, like a contribution or a donation. Why they do that? Why, when they pay contribution, it's not any more sale of money for money. Okay, it is one way into the funds, but it breaks link with that fund. It is not any more exchange of money for money. It's just as a contribution or a donation into the fund. Okay, now this fund itself makes its own like a job or a task to share and help out the participants, like we have in this particular case. So on this basis, when we have the money in the pool, manager of this fund or institution use this pool not just to pay the claims if something happens, but invest this into Sharia compliant way.
Yes.
Okay, so we have contract that is different, The nature is different, sharing of the risk, mutually cooperating on this, because the intention is great. So we want to protect each other. And then when you get something, it is not linked with this, like in the context of risk transfer.
In regards to a Takaful, would certain parties contribute more than other parties? Say, for instance, if somebody, is driving a nicer car, or depending on their driving record, how would they how insurance works? Would they contribute more?
So they would have their underwriting. They would price these things differently. Of course, they would probably, you could find they would make a difference how likely you are. They would assess risk probably in the same way as conventional insurance. So in terms of risk assessment, and all of these things, they would do the same job, because they both, while the contracts and everything is different, assessment will be based on similar. Like, for example, I remember once we were studying at university how some of these conventionals do it. They ask you, do you smoke? Do you, for example, they find out if person smokes, it's more likely that they will have a fire in the house. So they would, all of these would come sort of to play. And this is risk management basic, okay? So this is how Takaful would be organized, and participants here would own this fund, unlike in the previous where operator owns the money.
Yes.
So here participants, and if there is surplus, they should get it back. Okay? If the money is invested in Sharia compliant way, number one, either the manager who does this can be as a wakil, like an agent, or like a mudarib, manager who is managing for ratio. And we will talk about mudarib a bit later on.
So there's nothing wrong if, say for example, I bought a car and it worked out that I'll contribute maybe 1,000 every month. And the next day I met up in an accident, and the accident was worth about, the damages were about 20,000.
Yep.
So when they give me that, because I'm already in, so there's no problem. That's fine.
So what we would not then consider this money for money anymore exchange, because your contribution will be just that, contribution or donation towards the fund.
Yes.
Okay, we would not, for legal purpose, link it with what you are returning.
Yes.
Okay, so that would give you membership, and membership would protect you. And we are doing that mutually to share the risk amongst ourselves. So this is, so the intention is, it's much different. Sometimes some of these insurance providers, they try to get their hands on this money as well. So they sometimes charge some fees that might not fully comply with Sharia. So they modify these structures and they tap into these. So after they make a claims, pay for the damages and the running, the costs and all of this, they say we want a bit more. So if you go after this fund, that might not be fully Sharia compliant then. And then there would be really no much difference between you and the conventional. So we want to see again different characteristics of these products and so on. All right. Now, any questions? Do we have any questions regarding this? How does this sound?
It's settling in.
Yeah? All right. Now, there are different models and so on. These are just some of the pictures. Now, in our next couple of sessions, we are going to look in more these Islamic modes of financing. And have you heard before different modes of financing, how we can buy things, finance stuff? Have you ever heard of these names? Musharaka, Mudaraba, Ijara, Salam?
Yes, we have.
Yeah? Yeah, so you hear these terminology. So far we covered these contracts, what is the prohibitions and so on. Now what we're going to do is, how do we then execute these transactions? What is it that we can do to make money, to buy and sell and finance things? Okay, so a couple of points. How do you finance anything? Okay, if you want to finance, buy a building, buy a car, construct something in general, how do people normally do that? Like, people go to the bank, people maybe go take some debt, take some loan, or they have some partner. Okay, so the way we finance, usually, there are two ways to finance. So one is we call debt, Okay, and another one is we call equity. Okay, so what this means is that debt is any kind of a contract where I'm just like borrowing money in conventional. In Islamic is any kind of contract where I'm buying or selling something. So I sold you something, you owe me some money now. Or I'm leasing you a machine, you paying the rent. Okay? So this is non-profit and loss sharing in Islamic finance, or just conventional loan in conventional. Equity comes as a partnership arrangement. Remember what we said before, somebody give you some money, you put some work or your own money, and then we work on partnership. So these are two broad ways that we finance stuff. Now usually when we choose these, the way we decide is, first of all, what is available? What can we access? You know, not always you can get partner, or not always you can have debt. What is the cost? How much is this going to cost me? And sometimes in complex things, transactions, you might have consider some tax implications of each, especially if you are a big maybe firm, and you know you worried, and so on. Okay, conventional and Islamic perspective on debt. Number one, we said you could have a debt financing which is non-profit and loss, which is based on sale and lease, and you end up owning something to someone. Now, what is Islamic attitude toward debt?
I mean, it's as long as you repay it, you know, before a certain time, and you know.
So there is something about debt that makes us a little bit worried. Yeah, it's not haram to have a debt. I mean, you can borrow money from someone and return it and buy on credit, and you know this is nothing wrong, but we have to manage that very, very carefully, because we generally discourage that, and you will see why. Number one, as we have seen in number of narration, and inshallah you will see, the Prophet ﷺ told us, I seek refuge, O Allah, I seek refuge with you from all sins and from being in debt. And he says, if a person is in debt, he tells lies when he speaks and breaks his promise when he promises. And Prophet ﷺ used to supplicate to be saved from helplessness, laziness, debt, and these other things. And the debt in general, we say, when you see the characteristics, usually, I can see that clearly, people who go in debt, sometimes they become in habit of easy going, easy attitude towards that, and the laziness a little bit settled in. So they have credit card, especially youth. Now they're paying with their mobile phone, they have credit cards, even through Facebook they can pay and transfer money, and all of these technology. So they are already in a debt. So 20, 30, 40% of youth already have some sort of credit and already have a debt. They don't even see money, but yet they are in debt. They're paying interest. So this tells us a little bit the financial literacy in the youth, it's catastrophic. They don't appreciate money, how it is to earn it, but they understand that easily I can spend it. And this is following your desires. And it puts you in a very dangerous position. First makes you very lazy, and then to get out of it, you might do certain things that you don't want. Now there was an interesting statement before I read once when we talk about now state level. One of the thinkers in the West, he said there are two ways to conquer any country. One is by sword, another is by debt. Which is very interesting. I mean, if you go through the history, for example, and you look at, for instance, Ottoman Empire, when it was in its peak and it's growing, it started getting into these interest-based loan from European countries, and then after a while, debt started growing so much that they had to let administrators take over certain sectors in the economy, and they started getting the interest payments, and slowly country let its sovereignty in the hands of other people. Like what we see now, riots in Greece, for example. Why they are rioting? Well, they don't want these big banks who give them money to take over the country just because they give them some loan. So they don't want to lose the sovereignty to manage their affairs. So they say, yeah, okay, we go, but you know, we still want to control ourselves. So what we see is that indeed you can lose as a country part of who you are, and freedom if you don't take care of these things and if you go deeply. So we don't want lazy people or lazy government, especially with money. Okay? So we don't want to see that. And inshallah, in next part, we are going to continue more about this.